This is Duke University.
Each quarter, Duke University, along with CFO Magazine and some regional partners, surveys CFOs around the world. This quarter, more than 1,000 CFOs responded to the survey. This quarter, we explored the effects of millennials coming into the workplace, millennials being employees under the age of 35. So companies note a lot of strengths and advantages to hiring younger workers. Some of those include these younger workers are more technologically savvy, they're more creative and innovative, and they bring a lot of positive change to the company. Now, there are some challenges that go along with that. At least for some millennials, CFOs tell us that they might be focused more on their own professional development than they are on the well-being of the overall firm. And some millennials also require more kind of managerial oversight and constant attention. So those are the pros and the cons, but there are a lot of millennials coming into the workforce. So what are companies doing about that to accommodate that? Well, in the United States, 40% of companies say they are making changes to accommodate millennials, but nearly 60% say they're not making changes. That stands in contrast to what we see in Asia and Latin America, where many more firms are making changes to accommodate millennials. What kind of changes am I talking about? More flexible work hours, more mentoring opportunities, also opportunities to change the corporate culture potentially. So in the US, we're not making as many of these changes, so we'll have to keep an eye on that going forward as more and more millennials come into the workforce. We explored what companies look for in their board of directors. So one thing they look for is deep industry experience for directors, creative outside-the-box thinking. We also inquired about diversity, targets companies might set for a minimum number of women or minority representation on the board. So first, not that many companies set these targets. It was a little surprising. Among companies that do set the targets, they often fall short. So for example, in the United States, among companies that have targets, the minimum number of women they'd like to have is about 30% women on the board of directors. Among these companies, they only average about 20 or 22%. So in other words, companies are falling about 8 or 10 percentage points short of their targets for diversity on the board. Now, if you look online at cfosurvey.org, we list some of the obstacles companies claim to face when appointing a more diverse board. The good news here is many of these obstacles seem to be surmountable in the short to medium term, so we expect progress to continue to be made on this front. The economic outlook for 2015 is a bit uneven. The US looks good. In fact, these are the best hiring numbers we've heard since before the financial crisis. Companies expect to add nearly 3% more full-time employees over the next year, and wages should tick up by about 3.5%, which is much higher than the mid-twos that we've been experiencing in recent years. So that's really good for the labor side. On the capital spending side, business spending weakening a little bit, but still moderately strong. So the US looks good. Asia, a bit uneven. We have Japan kind of going down, China cooling off a little bit, and India, though, improving. So if you kind of average across Asia, things look reasonably good. Not so much in Europe, where in fact things look really flat, especially with respect to employment. Latin America, things continue to deteriorate, even worse than what we heard last quarter. Brazil continues to pull down kind of the overall average for Latin America. And in Africa, it's a bit uneven, where we see actually employment numbers look pretty good, but business spending not so good. So if you kind of add it all up, looks like 2015, the world economy is looking for the US to be the growth engine once again.